The new Netflix fairy tale starring the Stranger Things star Millie Bobby Brown has already made it to the most popular lists across the US. But what grabbed our attention more than the fantasy-based storytelling is a giant and terrifying dragon who takes center stage in the narrative. This mighty beast seems to be the antagonist for much of the movie, until it's revealed that the real villains are elsewhere. The dragon designs in the movie have been so impressive that people have even claimed that the dragon here surpasses the one in the popular series House of the Dragon. In this video, we'll take a closer look at this unique dragon and its anatomy, and there might be a few spoilers along the way. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Origins of the dragon in the movie and its relevance in the story. Damsel is set in a fantasy premise, where Elodie hails from a poor kingdom that is struggling to have rations for the upcoming winter. She gets a proposal from a rich kingdom, stating that she is to marry the prince, and her father is elated by the idea because it would ensure the survival of their people as well. However, Elodie soon finds out that the marriage is a scam designed to sacrifice her before a sinister dragon that threatens the kingdom. She gets to know about the dark secret of the royal family, that they sacrifice innocent girls from different parts of the world under the pretext of marriage in order to maintain a promise with the dragon for their past sins. Later, it's revealed that the dragon was the original inhabitant of the island before the first king of the royal family decided to rule in this region. He and his soldiers attacked the dragon and slaughtered its babies, thus incurring the wrath of the creature. In order to keep his kingdom safe and sound, the king agreed to sacrifice daughters from his family for generations to pay for his sins. But, unknown to the dragon, the royal family kept deceiving the beast with innocent victims by putting them through a blood ritual that made the dragon smell royal blood on them. Now, Elodie has to deal with the dragon and bring the evil royal family to justice. The makers of Damsel knew that the dragon would be one of their biggest selling points, and they spared no efforts in making the creature look absolutely stunning and menacing. How is the design of the dragon in Damsel different from usual? One of the things that will strike you while watching the movie is how different the dragon looks from the usual dragons that you see in films and shows. Even for a show like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, where dragons have a major role to play, the dragons shown are wyverns. This trope is followed in most movies as well, but Damsel chose to go on a different path. The credit behind the unique design of the dragon in the movie goes to the visual effects team led by Nigel Denton-Howe's Patrick Tatopoulos. The latter revealed in an interview that he was approached for Damsel after the makers watched his work in Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. For the ancient female dragon that he had to create from scratch, Patrick decided to go the unconventional way, and this was consciously done to create a dragon different from the ones people are used to. Finally, he came up with a design that made the dragon more feline-like than reptile. In his words, "The idea of a cat-like dragon led me to design a creature that is closer to a manticore or a sphinx than a traditional dragon." Thus, even though the dragon has scaly skin and some dragon-like features in the wings and tail, the beastly figure represents a giant panther more than a reptilian creature. This also helped in adding to the femininity of the dragon and made sure that the mechanical movement of a reptilian dragon could be avoided. The dragon needed to be swift and fast in order to chase its victims through the maze of tunnels in the cave network, and this design made its movements believable. What did the dragon look like in the movie? If you look at the last scene of the movie, you'll get a good idea about the true size of the dragon. As it flies along Elodie's ship, it's almost the same size as the massive ship, and previously, in the cave scenes, its true stature was hard to understand. The massive creature has 4 limbs, and the front limbs can be used like a human hand to grab onto things when required. Each of these limbs has sharp and deadly claws that could impale its victims, and the creature also had a sharp set of teeth that could make quick work of its prey. The large glowing eyes were fiery and intimidating, and one look at the dragon would let you know that you're dealing with a beast with brains here. The dragon was swift in its movements, and it almost moved around soundlessly like a true predator. The massive wings on the dragon allowed it to fly effortlessly, and it could fly at a significant speed when necessary. What was the nature of the dragon fire in the movie? Well, you simply cannot have such a rare and unique breed of dragon spit regular dragon fire, can you? In order to add their innovative touch to this aspect as well, the VFX team ensured that the dragon fire looks like a mixture of gaseous and liquid flames. The effect is somewhat like napalm or lava, and this ends up making the scenes look really cool in the movie. The dragon fire is not used by the dragon more than what is required, and it knows that its mere claws and brute power is often enough to get the job done. However, in the first scene of the movie, when the dragon is attacked by the king and his soldiers, it uses dragon fire to burn through the enemy that outnumbered him. The fire is deadly and effective, which is evident from the way people turn into their skeletal remains and ashes within seconds. Later, even when Elodie manages to evade the direct fire attack, the minor flares also leave deep burn marks on her body. The dragon fire in the movie is also powerful enough to burn through concrete, which we can see in the climactic moments of the film when the dragon burns down the entire castle. Why does dragon fire injure the dragon towards the end of the movie? Usually, dragons are shown to be immune to fire, mainly because they have a fire system within their body itself. Game of Thrones and other popular dragon appearances on screen abide by this ability of the dragons, but Damsel had some other ideas. In this movie, Elodie finally manages to take the dragon down after tricking it to perform a massive fire attack on her. She moves away just in time, and the fire reflects from the shiny rock surface just behind her and injures the dragon severely. It ends up in a near-dead condition from the severe burns inflicted on it by its own fire, and it is Elodie's compassion and care that bring the dragon back to health. This does seem like a logical inaccuracy in the movie, but then you have to admit that the dragon here is quite different from the ones we are used to. Maybe this one is vulnerable to fire, or maybe it's just vulnerable to its own fire. Whatever the case, it's safe to say that the visual effects outweigh such minor inconveniences, if you even consider this to be one. How smart is the dragon, and what is its personality like? We've already mentioned in the video that the dragon is not your typical animalistic beast going after its prey mindlessly. The dragon in the movie proves that it is quite intelligent, and the initial moments of the movie explore its hatred for the royal family and anyone with royal blood. The creature loves to stalk and play around with its prey before finally killing them, and it does the same with Elodie until she manages to escape. The voiceover of the dragon is perfectly done, and it lends the additional cunning and intelligence factor to the character. It can communicate in English, although it seems like the communication is done telepathically, as the creature doesn't really speak, but it still has the knowledge and sentience to conduct interactions with humans, and that speaks volumes about its big brains. On the other hand, the dragon is not a mindless killing machine, and it has a compassionate side to it. When Elodie finally manages to convince her about the conspiracy of the royal family, it sides with her, and the two set out to punish the actual antagonists. The creature can be seen flying alongside Elodie's ship, presumably to help its new ally rebuild her home. Is the dragon immortal? This is a question that comes to mind because of how long the dragon has lived. The movie begins with the dragon being a fully grown creature, and since then, the dragon has been alive for hundreds of years. Clearly, the dragon has a much longer lifespan than humans, and there could be a subtle hint of immortality as well. Even in the narrative, the dragon doesn't seem to be burdened by old age and remains ever youthful, with its appearance and power being the same as it was in the beginning. We would buy into the immortality clause completely, had it not been for the fatal injuries that Elodie brought upon the dragon. When she stabbed the dragon with her father's sword and a knife, the dragon was shown to bleed, and it was clearly in pain. However, the reflected dragon fire hitting the creature dealt a decisive blow, and it was severely injured after this. It communicated with Elodie to land the finishing blow to kill it off, which indicates that the creature wasn't immortal after all, and it could be killed with the right moves. How did the dragon reproduce? The feud between the royal family and the ancient dragon that inhabited the island began after the 3 young hatchlings of the dragon were mercilessly slaughtered by the soldiers under the king's command. The dragon later remarked that these young dragons were the last of her line, and this infuriated the beast even further to ensure that it gets its revenge on the royal family for generations to come. However, we can't help but wonder how the dragon gave birth to these baby dragons in the first place. There are no signs of any male dragon in the movie, and we aren't too sure if the makers hinted at some other reproductive process here. We also cannot rule out the possibility that the dragon probably had a male partner which died before the events of the movie. And this also makes sense when you consider the words of the dragon about the dead baby dragons being the last of its line. We're glad that even with the feline designs of the dragon, the makers still went with the traditional birthing method, where the baby dragons hatched out of eggs. Marvelous verdict. Not every damsel is in distress. Yes, this seems to be the tagline of the movie in a nutshell, and the feisty performance of Millie Bobby Brown does make the heroics of the protagonist memorable. That being said, Damsel doesn't really offer anything that you haven't seen before. The story's predictable and many scenes don't really add up well. However, the dragon is the savior when it comes to the brilliant visuals of the movie. It looks perfectly menacing, and the voice of the dragon, provided by Iranian-American actress Shohreh Aghdashloo, makes the presentation top-notch. Watch the movie for the incredible dragon effects and visual marvels, and you won't be disappointed. Do let us know in the comments below about your thoughts on the movie and the dragon in particular. Also, tell us whether you'd like to see a sequel to this narrative to watch more adventures of Elodie and the dragon. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.